We've shown you the amazing story of Isabella and Ferdinand's rise of power, but there is certainly more to the story, one part that fans of our favorite princess may not want to admit. The Inquisition. It was possibly the greatest stain on Isabella's legacy. It was driven by religious fervor and fear of others. This video will take us through what drove the church to turn faith into one of the most terrifying chapters in history. It is a haunting question that echoes through the ages, challenging us to understand how a religious institution meant to guide souls became an instrument of terror, wielding fear as a tool for control and conformity. Please note, as we go through this documentary, this is not an indictment of the Catholic Church, but a study in how fear-mongering and hateful rhetoric can lead even the most righteous down a terrible path. The Inquisition stands as a pivotal yet grim chapter in religious history. It represents a time when the Church sought to root out heresy, often through brutal means, casting a long shadow over the ideals of faith and compassion. Stick with us to the end as we analyze how it began and its ultimate impact. In medieval Europe, the Inquisition began as a response to growing religious dissent. Its purpose was to maintain doctrinal purity and unity within the Church, using investigation and punishment to suppress any challenges to established religious authority. The Tribunal del Santo Oficio de la Inquisición, or Tribunal of the Holy Office of the Inquisition, was established in 1478 in Spain by Catholic monarchs Isabella and Ferdinand. It began toward the end of the Reconquista and was intended to maintain Catholic orthodoxy in their kingdoms and to replace the medieval Inquisition, which was under papal control. The Spanish Inquisition is definable as a response to the multi-religious nature of Spanish society following the reconquest of the Iberian Peninsula from the Muslim Moors. The Reconquista did not result in the total expulsion of Muslims from Spain, since they, along with Jews, were tolerated by the ruling Christian elite. Large cities, especially Seville, Valladolid, and Barcelona, had significant Jewish populations centered on Judea, but in the coming years the Muslims became increasingly alienated and relegated from power centers. The Catholic monarchs aimed to unite their kingdoms and strengthen royal authority to ensure stability. They sought legal unification and reduced the power of the nobility, using a combined army to enforce their will. However, they maintained separate kingdoms during their lifetimes due to mutual distrust, creating a confederation of the two kingdoms of Castile and Aragon, which became the basis for a unified Spain. To retain control over both realms, they likely sought to establish a unified executive, legislative, and judicial arm under the crown, potentially leading to the creation of the Spanish Inquisition as a tool for central authority across both territories. Isabella and Ferdinand used Catholicism, the only institution common to both kingdoms, to establish the Spanish Inquisition as a tool for centralized control. The Inquisition acted as a personal police force and legal system above their respective realms, without altering or merging the kingdom's structures. It operated independently of local nobility, supported by both kingdoms, ensuring it could function without interference from regional interests, consolidating royal power across the territories. Influential figures like Torquemada led the Inquisition's charge with fervor. As a Grand Inquisitor, Torquemada became synonymous with the relentless pursuit of those who they considered speaking or acting with heresy, embodying the zeal and ruthlessness that defined this dark period in religious history. The Inquisition's notorious torture methods were designed to extract confessions. Devices such as the rack, the strapado, and the Iron Maiden inflicted unimaginable pain, turning the quest for truth into a macabre theater of suffering and despair. The Inquisition relentlessly pursued heretics, targeting groups like Cathars, Waldensians, and later, Protestants. These individuals were often accused of deviating from church doctrine, leading to severe punishment. Many faced execution, imprisonment, or exile, drastically affecting entire communities and spreading fear. The societal impact of the Inquisition was profound, as it instilled a pervasive culture of fear. Communities became self-policing, with neighbors reporting each other to authorities. This atmosphere of suspicion stifled free thought and forced conformity to religious orthodoxy, reshaping societal norms. Economic motives played a significant role in the Inquisition's operations. The confiscation of heretics' properties provided substantial financial gain for the church and secular authorities. This practice incentivized accusations, as wealth and assets were often redirected to those in power. The papacy was instrumental in endorsing and expanding the Inquisition's reach. Popes issued decrees that legitimized the Inquisition, granting it authority and resources. Their support ensured the institution's continuity and influence, embedding it deeply within the fabric of medieval European society. Inquisition courts were structured to ensure control and compliance. Trials lacked transparency, with accused individuals often denied defense. Confessions, frequently extracted under duress, were pivotal. These proceedings reinforced the Church's power, emphasizing its dominance over spiritual and temporal matters. The trials of Joan of Arc and Galileo remain emblematic of the Inquisition's fervor. Joan, a teenage warrior, faced charges of heresy and was ultimately burned at the stake. Galileo's trial marked the clash between science and dogma, echoing through history. Art and literature of the time could not escape the Inquisition's shadow. Writers and artists navigated a world where expression was scrutinized, leading to works that subtly critiqued or complied with prevailing religious orthodoxy, shaping cultural landscapes in profound, lasting ways. Despite its formidable power, the Inquisition faced resistance from courageous individuals and groups. Over time, mounting opposition and the Enlightenment's influence prompted reforms, gradually diminishing the Inquisition's grip, though not entirely erasing its deep-seated impact on societal and religious norms. The witch hunts, fueled by fear and superstition, were inextricably linked to the Inquisition's zeal. Thousands, mainly women, were accused of witchcraft, enduring brutal trials and executions, reflecting the era's pervasive paranoia and the Church's determination to root out perceived evil. The Spanish Inquisition, distinct in its intensity, targeted converted Jews and Muslims, enforcing Catholic orthodoxy with relentless vigor. Its notorious reputation stemmed from its rigorous processes and brutal methods, leaving a particularly dark chapter in the history of religious persecution. The psychological toll on victims of the Inquisition was immense, with trauma rippling through communities. Fear and anxiety became ingrained, affecting not only those directly accused but also their families. This collective trauma contributed to a culture of silence and compliance. Religious justifications for the Inquisition were rooted in a belief in protecting orthodoxy. Authorities argued that severe measures were necessary to save souls. This rationale highlights the dangerous intersections of faith and power, where moral certainty justified extreme actions. Comparing the Spanish Inquisition with others across history reveals shared patterns of control and persecution. Each incarnation adapted to its context, yet all manipulated religious fervor for power. These comparisons underscore the persistent dangers of unchecked authority in any era. The Inquisition left an indelible mark on both religion and society, casting a long shadow of fear and control. Its legacy is a stark reminder of how power can be wielded under the guise of spiritual righteousness, altering history irrevocably. The Inquisition's legacy of fear endures, casting long shadows over history. It instilled a climate of suspicion and control, where neighbors turned on each other. This atmosphere of mistrust permeated society, leaving deep scars and influencing future generations' views on authority and power. Modern society reflects on the Inquisition with a complex mix of horror and understanding. While acknowledging its brutality, there is also recognition of its role in shaping religious and political landscapes. This dual perspective prompts ongoing discussions about power and morality. Reflecting on this dark chapter urges us to embrace the lessons of tolerance and understanding. By acknowledging past mistakes, we can foster a future where diversity is celebrated and fear is not used as a tool to manipulate or oppress.
And if you think this video was fascinating, this next one is even better. Check it out, right here on ancient Memoria.